So thank you everyone who is here today, and we'll go ahead and get started. I am Lynn Shoemaker, a co-founder of Well Women Organizing for Wilmington. This grassroots movement started as 13 women in my backyard when 5 white men, the then New Hanover County Board of Commissioners, refused an unencumbered grant offered by the then a woman governor, Bev Perdue, for the health department to provide IUDs for poor women who could not take oral contraceptives for a myriad of reasons. One of those commissioners, now a House Representative, Ted Davis, said, quote, "Women would not need birth control if they just didn't have the sex," end quote. In protest, we grew from 13 women to 300 overnight and convened on the Cape Fear River. We demanded the commissioners reconsider their wrong vote. When Hobby Lobby pushed corporate personhood so they would not have to provide birth control in their insurance package offered to their female-only employees, claiming it offended their religious position against abortion, even though they were selling merchandise imported from China where there was at the time a mandatory abortion law. Well held an event at a local woman-owned bookstore where women could incorporate their uterus so they would have personhood equal to that of Hobby Lobby. It's time to do that again. We returned to the commissioners' next meeting and we pinned our incorporation papers on a clothesline outside the courthouse where their decision was reversed. When then Senator Tom Goolsbee voted to support invasive vaginal ultrasounds for women seeking a safe medical abortion, language that was hidden in a bill about motorcycle safety, Well began protesting outside his law office every Monday on our lunch hour, beating pots and pans with wooden spoons for 69 weeks.
Good time.
Until PPP determined in a poll that his approval ratings were so low that anyone could oppose him and win. He even went on air to falsely state that he did not vote for that bill. And that, friends, was our first experience with what would later be coined as alternative truth. So what did the GOP do? They asked him to step down early and let them appoint someone to his seat so that they could circumvent the will of their people and dilute our little d democracy by giving their hand-selected candidate an advantage in running as an incumbent. And that puppet, Michael Lee. I mention this only because I expect that you will see the GOP attempt the same strategy with the Davis seat. Their machine does not trust Republican women to choose a candidate. And rumors are that the GOP has already asked an elected Republican woman to fill that seat.
Yeah.
Welcome to election cycle 2024. Today, however, is about unity. Unity. A condition of harmony, accord, unification, union, oneness. More than body autonomy, and that is a really big one, is at stake in this election cycle. Every day that the Republican machine remains in power, democracy is being eroded. And democracy, little d democracy, is a government by the people and for the people. For more than a decade now, political machines have been pulling the strings. Those machines come into our community on red carpets rolled out for them. They set up temporary tents and they run one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter campaigns, spending big dollars on for-profit businesses that inundate us in TV, radio, and online ads and mass mailers with mistruths. Our elections have become cash cows for these businesses who care about profit over people. These machines don't know us. They don't want to know us, because they will have to recognize that they are doing to us what they're doing. These outsiders leave after they get what they want, and they take our contacts with them, and then they further $5, $10, $15, and $25 us to death to support their ongoing efforts to control the outcomes instead of supporting the little d democracy. We, sisters, brothers, and kinfolk, we are the dark horse that they fear most. We can take back our control over democracy by standing as one. By standing as one, we can take power over our bodily autonomy, but we can't do either if we do not do this together. Today, WELL is asking you, imploring you, to stay focused on the prize. Don't allow yourself to get distracted by manufactured drama intended to cripple our collective power.
That's right.
If we protect the little d democracy, then we protect everything and everyone. Roe v. Wade, voter rights, equality, gender identity, public school funding, public school employees' rights, clean drinking water, and we can create universal food security, a thriving pay that is equal, affordable housing, affordable child care, paid sick leave. We can destigmatize mental health care and combat addiction and protect women against violence. We can even end discrimination, end homelessness, end human trafficking. And in doing so, we can work toward peace. We, however, cannot have any of these things if we do not stand as one. There is zero room for distraction in this election cycle. This will be the election of the century, sisters, brothers, and kinfolk. If we lose, we will lose everything. Overnight, I fear we will see our democracy become a dictatorship. Trump has said as much, and I believe that he and his minions mean to do just that. If we lose, abortion will be criminalized. If we lose, we will begin to see police states. If we lose, education will only be for the wealthy. If we lose, the gains that we have made in workers' rights and the building back of the middle class who built this country, this nation, will be erased. We cannot afford to lose this time. First, if you don't have time to vet the candidates for yourself, please, please, please turn to the organizations that you already support and trust for information on candidates who will advocate for what you believe in. Planned Parenthood, NARAL, NOW, WOW, the League of Conservation Voters, Hanover for All, the National Black Leadership Caucus, our unions, AFT, ATU, ILA, USW, CWA, IATSE, AFGE, and the NCAFL-CIO, NC Equality. And then I want you to work campaigns. We have a lot of people to reach with truthful information and a short 8 months left. These are our sporadic and reluctant voters who work 3 or more part-time jobs, trying to quilt together a single income to keep their families together under one roof. We have to go where they are. We cannot continue to expect them to show up and come to where we are. They simply do not have the time or the resources or the energy. Ride Wave Bus on Wednesdays. And even if you own a washer and dryer, start going to laundromats on Saturdays. Talk to people. Build relationships. Leave your comfort zones and go places where you have never been in this community. Make new friends and listen as much, at the very least, as much as you talk. And last but not least, do all things with love. If a woman can make another human in 9 months, I have no doubt that together we can save democracy. For several reasons, we do not have an ordained minister or a person of faith up here to give you a prayer or to bless you. So I'm just going to ask for 1 minute that we have a moment of silence and that you lean on your faith. That in 8 months, when we come back here, that we can celebrate. Okay, let's get ready to do some work. Our first speaker is Pam McMahon, and she's been a Planned Parenthood supporter and activist for almost 40 years. 50. Pam has a Planned Parenthood, as a Planned Parenthood board member. She's been, well, let's see, I've really mangled that. Let me try my eyes. Pam was a Planned Parenthood board member, and since moving to Wilmington has been volunteering with the local affiliate, organizing local events, supporting clinic operations, and assisting with fundraising efforts and serving as a speaker at public events. This is not her first time with WOW, and we are very pleased to welcome her back. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. As we said, my name is Pam McMahon, community advocate and volunteer with Planned Parenthood South Atlantic here in Wilmington. We got a lot of people in pink. We got free stuff, by the way, at one of the tables over there, free t-shirts. The Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade opened the floodgates for hundreds of new laws and regulations to be passed by state lawmakers across the country, including here in North Carolina. And those lawmakers are hell-bent on taking away our reproductive freedom. last spring, over just 48 hours, just 2 days, the North Carolina legislature passed, over Governor Cooper's veto, a sweeping piece of legislation that bans abortion after 12 weeks of pregnancy, puts further restrictions on medication abortions, and makes it much harder to get an abortion even early in pregnancy, among other horrendous limitations. They continue to attack the bodily autonomy and humanity of transgender youth by passing bills to force teachers to out minors. What I say, and I hope you agree, is shame on those lawmakers. Shame on those lawmakers. Any arbitrary, politically driven abortion ban is wrong, but additional damage was done by requiring medically unnecessary hoops that patients and abortion providers must now jump through. The most glaring of these mandates is that every woman seeking abortion in the state of North Carolina must make an in-person visit and listen to a state-scripted consent 3 days prior to having the procedure, regardless of their circumstances, childcare, work, elder care, regardless of how far they had come. They need to show up 3 days prior and then come back. Shame on those legislatures. Shame on them. But true to form, Planned Parenthood South Atlantic Health Center staff met all of these threats by doubling down on their determination to open Planned Parenthood's doors even wider. The day after that heinous law went into effect, every single Planned Parenthood health center in this state was open and caring for patients. Thank you, Planned Parenthood. And the health centers not only provide abortion services, but also emergency contraception, birth control services, pregnancy testing and planning, gender-affirming care, STD testing and treatment, HIV services, and more. So if you're trying to lock the doors to a Planned Parenthood clinic, it's not just to abortion services. It's to all these other services that women and men need. North Carolina continues to serve as a critical access point for literally thousands of patients across the region facing total or near total bans in their home states. We got people driving in. We got people riding buses in. We've got people who can afford it flying in. Not everybody who needs services can afford all of that. So while Planned Parenthood is determined to care for people who need this care, no matter what, our state cannot afford to cede any more ground in this battle. These are dire, dangerous, frightening times. You might have gotten that impression from a few folks. Many in power are committed to turning back the clock and restricting people's bodily freedoms and reproductive rights. But do you know what is equally and perhaps even more dangerous? The power of the people united. Your power, your commitment to regaining our fundamental rights will not be diminished because there have been some setbacks. Planned Parenthood's commitment to continue to serve the healthcare needs of our state and this community will not be deterred. These are indeed frightening times, but do you know what is more frightening to those who try to reduce our access to care? Your voices, along with thousands of us who support the cause. Your voices raised to tell those in power, we will not be silenced, we will not be ignored, because we are united and we will prevail. So my message is brief. Don't be sad. Get real mad. Many speakers today will give you ideas about how you can take action. Please, take action however you can. United, taking action, we can and will make a difference. Thank you very much.
So I realize that our Pastor Kelly is in the house, and I would ask her to come forward, please. Okay. So they told me I could wear my witch hat and come out here and bless this event, but I don't. But I think it would be better coming from you, if you don't mind, as we're heading into this. But also, we've been hanging on to this because of a bunch of reasons, like COVID and just the stress that we've been under. But we, the Corps voted in 2022 to make you the Woman of the Year for WOW, for your work with deconstructing the church and rebuilding it.
Thank you. Okay. I was just coming to watch this time. Thank you. Wow, I love all of you. You've been so wonderful all along. All right, so let's take a moment, and I want you to think about that space you turn to when you're scared, when you're sad, when you're happy, whatever that is, higher power, whether it's Jesus, whether it's anything. Whatever you turn to, you can keep your eyes open with me and lift your spirit so we can all come together. Creator that created all of us. This is the time when we need whatever that thing is that connects us to come forward. We stand here scared and worried about anything that might come in this next year. But let us know that you've got this. And through the way you tie us together, you will hold us and help us make this world a better place, because that's all you want for us. It's in the name of all that created us. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Kelly. So next up we have Allison Bellamy, and she is in her 24th year of teaching elementary school, and she is a doctoral student at the University of Kentucky, where she is working towards her doctorate in educational leadership with a concentration in education policy. She is founding member of New Hanover County AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, and an avid advocate for public schools, public school educators, and all students. And if you know Sandy Yance, this is also her cousin, his cousin.
Go Union!
Yes, go Union. Yes, all right, good afternoon. I want to discuss some challenges teachers are currently facing. As you know, New Hanover County Schools is facing a $20 million shortfall, eliminating numerous positions, most student-facing ones. It's disheartening to see that we could lose teachers, teaching assistants, school nurses who I don't even know how a school could do without. Same with the counselors and social workers, and EC teachers and EC teaching assistants. which that in itself is insane to me because we need more of those, definitely not less. Teachers are feeling unvalued and unsupported. We're not recognized as the professionals we are, and our input into educational decisions is overlooked. We know our students best, and we know what they need to succeed. We must be actively involved in decision-making processes, especially concerning curriculum. Our lack of autonomy is extremely concerning. Mandated scripted curricula restrict our ability to tailor lessons to meet our students' diverse needs. Policy 7205 has only worsened this issue, leaving teachers fearful of teaching approved material in fear of retaliation. For instance, our second grade module on civil rights has created anxiety among teachers. They fear that straying from the script could lead to punitive measures, yet staying on the script risk accusations of indoctrination. We just want to teach, using our experience and creativity. This restrictive environment is causing many teachers to reconsidering their careers, with some leaving the profession entirely. As a teacher and a parent, I worry about the future of education, particularly for my daughters. I have 3, and 2 of them who aspire to be elementary school teachers. The thought of them facing financial insecurity and mistreatment is deeply troubling. Public education is the cornerstone of our society, yet it's constantly threatened. Students and teachers deserve protection, and that's why I urge all educators to consider joining educational organizations and unions such as AFT or NCAE. Together we can advocate for our profession's support and respect. Now, I know she's going to introduce my colleague, who's going to share some more about the benefits of joining AFT. Thank you.
I actually split up you twins.
Okay, she will soon.
So it's an important issue, and so we'll hear from Elizabeth a little bit later. So we're going to move on right now to Asia West, who is a Canvas Director and Relational Organizer for the North Carolina A. Philip Randolph Institute. So she has successfully run voter registration operations and GOTVs. But I found this quote on social media that you were quoted, and it was something that fit very well with today's theme, and it was the community that votes together makes change together. It's up to us, though, whether or not that change is good or bad. She's here today to represent the A. Philip Randolph Institute, which will be setting up a permanent office in the Wilmington area, I'm excited to announce. And I have a regular opportunity to work and serve with the NCAPRI in advancing the rights of workers at the Southeastern North Carolina Central Labor Council of Unions. And as our oldest civil rights movement, their mission is to improve the quality of life for economically disadvantaged families by providing the necessary resources that improve their standard of living and foster self-improvement and self-empowerment. So let's give her a warm welcome.
Good afternoon. I will be brief, and I'm not just saying that. She's already done a majority of what I had to say, so thank you. You are fine. You got a lot. Listen. So yeah, my name is Asia West. She, her pronouns. I'm with NCAPRI. We're a nonprofit organization. Is this better? We're a nonprofit organization. As she said before, we're dedicated to improving the quality of life for the economically disadvantaged families by providing necessary resources that improve their standard of living, foster self-improvement, self-efficiency, and self-empowerment. Some of the ways that we do that is through civic engagement and community engagement. So I am honored to be here today in solidarity of Wilmington, women organizing Wilmington, as well as the other unions and organizations. There is no better time than now for us to band together, not just as women, but as community, to fight for our basic rights and needs, to include women's rights. So I just want to encourage everyone to dig deeper into your why, and reach out to someone you may not necessarily talk to all the time, to see if you can help them find their why. If we lean in on that, we'll be successful in our visions for our future. That's all I have. Thank you.
So Marla is here today. She's going to be representing you're going to be talking about equal rights.
I am.
You know that on graduation night when I was in high school that I had to go and put together ERA signs to put out in Raleigh. I can't believe that we're still fighting for equal rights. So, and make sure you share with them your Easter eggs.
I will. All right.
Yes, y'all, make sure that you grab yourself a chick egg that's on the grass, because they are not filled with children's things. But I will tell you, inside the eggs are still not babies. That's our nod for Alabama. So please enjoy the Easter eggs. You're welcome. Well, I've been here many years so far saying the same thing I'm going to say today, and I'm really tired of saying it. The ERA, the Equal Rights Amendment. Please stop by the little green table over there. You can pick up a sticker that says, please publish the ERA. The Equal Rights Amendment says, equality of rights under the law shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of sex. We're here talking about bans off our bodies. Since when do we start regulating men's bodies? This whole issue about women's health care and reproductive health care is sex discrimination at its basis, right? So why have we not published the ERA yet? It's passed, it's been ratified, 38 states have passed it. We're just waiting for it to be done. Are we done waiting? I'm done waiting. Are you? I mean, it's been going on for over 50 years. Actually, it's been over 100 years since it was first penned. So we need to do something more this time. I'm looking at generations. I was born in 1970, so I'm 53 years old. So that is when all the things that were happening with the ERA being introduced, with Roe coming on board, and now here we are 53 years later, and all it's not happening. There's no more Roe. Roe is not coming back. Publishing the ERA is what's going to help us get our fundamental rights established. We weren't written into the Constitution. So I'm looking at our younger generations, because it's not your mother's ERA and it's not your grandmother's ERA. The ERA is about the millennials and the Gen Z and the generations that follow after. It's about you. I'm getting older. I'm not reproducing anymore. You know, that particular issue is about you. I look at pay equity. I'm at the end of the trajectory of my working career, not at the beginning. These things are about you. So having the ERA enshrined in our Constitution is so vitally important, because it's what gives us legal standing, and that is why we need it. So I'm not understanding why we're not getting it published. The only reason is, it's because it's a patriarchal society. It's a patriarchal society. So we can hold our elected officials accountable for that. The ERA-NC Alliance is getting ready to do their surveys
for their ERA champions. And that is for anybody that's going to be running in the NCGA and also in Congress. We will be asking those candidates how they support the ERA and what they're going to do to get its passage, whether they're in Congress for the United States and getting that published, or whether it's going to be in the NCGA where our lawmakers can actually pass one for our state. North Carolina is one of the states that doesn't have an ERA. And they are using ERA in other states that have them to help hold up those rights about reproductive rights. That's what's happening. So we should be able to have that too. So I don't know if you're tired of it, but I'm tired of it. I'm sick and tired of it. So all the young people that are here, one of the things that I want you to think about is that I know that our government officials know that I'm going to vote. And my generation's going to vote. And the generation above me is going to vote. But what they're not quite sure about is if your generation's going to vote. And they want your vote. They want it bad. So why don't you tell them? You have time. It takes you 15 to 30 seconds to say on your TikTok or your Reels or whatever else social media that you want to do, to say a message and just to say, earn my vote. Publish the ERA. Earn my vote. Pass an ERA in our state. You can do that. It takes nothing. And that is that ripple that could carry on and create a social media frenzy, because they're not going to do anything until they have the pressure to do it. They're not going to, they don't play nice like that. They just don't give it to you. We've been fighting for it for a long time. And I want to say, this is what we've handed off from our generation to your generation. But what will you be handing off to the generations that follow behind you? Please think about it, because this has been a long, long, long fight. And I don't want to come up here next year and have the same conversation. I want to come up next year and celebrate. I want you to celebrate with me.
Next up, we have Delthea Simmons, a writer, published poet, producer, spoken word artist, and an outside agitator.
I'm a professional outside agitator.
And while she now resides in central North Carolina, Delthea still considers southeastern North Carolina to be her home and its people to be her family. So let's welcome her to the podium to share some poetry. Welcome home.
How y'all doing? I used to be happy. And I'll be happy again when a certain person gets sued for the third damn time. Because somebody, some people just don't know when to shut the hell up. One of the major causes we're here to talk about today is a woman's right to do with her body whatever the hell she wants. So I have a few words for the other side. To the other side. I can wait. See? Let me explain to you how this works. If a woman doesn't want to have a baby, she won't have a baby. Full stop. If you allow anybody, even total strangers, to sue women who they suspect of having an abortion, you're just going to collapse the court system and get a whole lot of nosy people's feelings and other things hurt. You cannot legislate your morality onto people who think of you as an immoral, ignorant, self-righteous, religious zealot bent on spreading evil, despair, and misery in the name of a false faith reflective only of the worst cruelties known to man. As my papa used to say, that dog won't hunt, son. I got another one. Because what's wrong in America today isn't just one thing. So I made a list. It's a list of things I want. Let me know if you want them too. I don't want a strong progressive wing in the Democratic Party. I want a strong progressive party. I don't want to debate which poor people are worthy of help. I want to end poverty. I don't want to make health insurance affordable by using government subsidy. I want single-payer health care where the single payer is the government and the middleman of insurance companies is not necessary. I don't want a voucher to help send my kid to private school. I want a public school system dedicated to providing a world-class education to every student. I don't want to stop this war or that war. I want to stop war. I don't want to shelter the homeless. I want to house them. I don't want to repeal a PP bill. I want to extend full citizenship rights to sexual minorities. I don't want half measures, half steps, and half-ass compromise. I want justice, and I want it for everybody all the time, and I want it now. That's all. So let's do it. Expect and accept nothing less. Thank you.
What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. Next up is Dana Sargent. She's earned a BA in journalism from San Diego State and an MS in environmental sciences and policy from Johns Hopkins. She serves as the executive director of the small but mighty environmental nonprofit Cape Fear River Watch. She loves music and her two magnificent daughters. Let's give it up for Dana.
All right. Excuse my voice, I'm a little sick. I may have gone overboard with my medication, so I'm also a little slow. And so I've spoken at a couple of these now, and I find myself saying how hard it is to follow the woman who spoke before me every time. And yet again, this time I got to go up after Delphia. What an amazing hero she is. Excuse me. It says a lot about our community is that we have a lot of empowering, inspirational women here in Wilmington. And what a gift you all are, and what an honor it is to be here. And thank you as always to Wow and Lynn and the whole group for your steadfast commitment to this community and for inviting me to participate again. Again, my name is Dana, and I'm the director of the environmental nonprofit Cape Fear River Watch. I like to say we are small and that we are damn mighty. I am so proud of our team and our volunteers and our community of activists for all that we've accomplished, even amid the struggles of a legislature and a regulatory agency bought and sold by industry polluters. I work a lot on PFAS/Gen X/toxic chemicals that Chemours, in the name they used to go by DuPont, dumped into our water supply, the majestic Cape Fear River. The river that provides not only a huge amount of revenue for this city in its fishery, its tourism, downtown local business income, real estate, recreational revenue, but also, of course, our drinking water, our heritage, and the ecological centerpiece that allows the Cape Fear region to be listed as one of a handful of global biodiversity hotspots. And they poisoned it. They poisoned us, and they keep doing it. And our state keeps letting them. So we don't have the big wins one would think we all should, right? A company poisons your community. You'd think the state regulatory agency, Department of Environmental Quality, and the state legislators would say, wait, hold up, no, not here. But instead, it seems the legislators in charge want to keep friendly with those polluter lobbyists, the chemical manufacturers, the plastics, the textiles, and the big dog that seems to have them all bowing down, the Chamber of Commerce. We all know why, and it's money and power. And Lynn might say, bless their hearts, as she likes to say, these disgusting souls choose money and power over all else. But you all continue to show the hell up. And you have stopped them, incrementally, yes, but stop them nonetheless, at every chance that you can get. You made your voices heard when they tried to make us the dumping ground for toxic waste shipped from overseas. Thank you so much. They stopped that. You made your voices heard when the company asked to expand production. That permit is on the hold. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And most recently, you made your voices heard when another company up on the Northeast River got a draft permit to freely release more PFAS into our waters. As of this morning, I think we have somewhere near 800 emails to DEQ and counting. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I want to shift gears a little here at our women's rally and just share with you all, I am freaking tired. I am tired of our DEQ telling us that they're underfunded, underpaid, understaffed. So the hell are we. So are all of you. But we all keep showing up and doing our jobs and doing what's right. And the gloves are off now, DEQ. You have known of the systemic issues that lead to your lack of funding for nearly a decade. Yes, it's messed up that the legislature is in charge of your funding and the legislature is beholden to polluters. And it's hard to change the makeup of the legislature because of gerrymandering. But guess what? That's the hand that you've been dealt. Deal with it. Do your jobs, figure it out. We have been patient for too damn long, and me and Kemp and our team, Shauna is here, and all the awesome environmental groups in this state are doing more in a day, I guarantee, to support the mission of the DEQ, which is, by the way, to protect human health and the environment, than I would say 10 DEQ staff members are doing in a month, and I am exhausted. And with that, I want to close with a request, and it's not my regular ask to send a letter to DEQ or your legislator or to vote. Y'all already show up, and y'all know that. I don't need to remind you of all those things. My ask here at the Women's Rally today is that you take a little extra time and consideration for all the women in your world and rally them up. Every woman here is doing some kind of hard work, whether it is raising humans or taking care of someone or working for a paycheck or maybe two or maybe all three of those things. And we are all, I guarantee, doing too much. We need to remind each other and give space for each other to take care. And it's on us, of course, to find time in our hearts, our souls, our bodies to lift up our sisters, ease their burden, give them a hug, buy them a massage, write them a handwritten letter and drop it in the mail. We all need this so we can all keep doing the hard work that we're doing. And nobody else is going to help us. Thank you. Peace.
So as I give Danielle Alondra Torres time to get up here to the podium, I want to mention to you that the chick eggs on the lawn, as you collect those, take one to hide somewhere downtown for someone else to find. Danielle is a member of the Eastern Woodland Protectors and helps fight for the environment as well as on social issues. She is a jingle dress dancer for the healing of our people. And and she is going to talk about our missing minority, indigenous women that we all read about, and I don't know if you all are aware, but it seems like only people that look like me ever get media attention when they go missing. And so let's welcome her to the podium, because this is a very important issue and something that we all need to help change. Thank you.
Piali no Chime, Shio. Hello, my name is Danielle Alondra Torres. I am Eastern Band and Azteca Mexica. I am standing here today to bring awareness to a huge problem my people of all nations face. MMIWP stands for Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women, Men, and Children. This is now considered an epidemic all across Turtle Island, which includes all of North America, such as the United States and Canada, and even affects countries, especially in South America as well. Our women face such tremendous hardships trying to survive in this world. Having first-hand knowledge of so much loss is painful. Our men face the same. I'm here to speak for my father that was taken away from us way too soon, and for my auntie sister, Katina. She was murdered 5 days before Christmas in 2018. Her death is painful. We have been bringing awareness to this issue every way we can. We would like to invite you to attend the MMIW North Carolina Coalition Conference at UNCW on May 3rd and 4th. We have quite a few unique ways these days to show you how important our MMIWP are to us. My aunties will be on the panel bringing the hard facts of why we face these issues and helping hash out solutions for change. Please remember, our women are sacred, and without them, life would tip the balance and not in a good way. Please plan to attend May 3rd and 4th. You can find out information at our booth that's set up. Yeah, it should be right over there. Klazuka Mati, thank you for your time.
So I think we're doing a pretty good job of staying kind of on our timeline, which is a miracle. And our next guest is going to be Ivy Moraine, and although she's coming up here to speak to you as a representative of the NAACP, I have to mention that she was my boss at one time. She was an administrator at Myrtle Grove Middle School when I was teaching there, and how lucky was I? I got spoiled rotten. Ms. Moraine is a distinguished former history, African American Studies, Civics, and Social Studies educator. And as a member of the AKA Sorority Incorporated, she has held many leadership positions. She's a member of WIN, Women in the NAACP, and chairman of the Martin Luther King Jr. Annual Breakfast. Let's welcome Ms. Moraine to the podium.
Thank you, Lynn. Can everybody hear me? I'll use my teacher and principal voice. Now don't start nothing. Don't make me even more nervous than I am. Good afternoon. It is my honor to represent the New Hanover County branch of the NAACP, specifically women in the NAACP. I want to also thank our president and some of our other members of the local branch for being here. What is unity? In its simplest terms, it means working together, praying together, being together. For me, it means reaching outward, upward, and back to assist those who are around me, who are in need, and even those who are not in need. It means sharing resources to help the individual and the community. It is important to work collaboratively with others, to share ideas, to share the workload, and when it is all said and done, to share the good and the bad. We need each other. We must be united. As a 30-plus year educator and member of this community, I've seen many women from all backgrounds support and mentor each other. I've also seen the opposite. I've even experienced the opposite, but for most, I experienced the former. In my opinion, mentoring across generations is imperative to the uplift of all women. We must connect and learn from each other for humanity to move forward. History shows us that women have been at the forefront of these endeavors. Women have led the fight, not only for women's rights, but for civil rights for all. We are all daughters. Many of us are mothers, grandmothers, sisters, and aunts. And as much as we've had, as such, we've had the responsibility of keeping the family, our individual family, our New Hanover County family, our state family, our national family together. The NAACP has for over 115 years committed its time, effort, resources to ensure racial equity, promote civic engagement, and support policies and institutions for all marginalized people. We're all aware that we're at the precipice of possibly losing our democracy. Many nights I watch the news. Many days I watch the news. And I can tell you, I'm afraid. I'm afraid of going back. I'm afraid of going back to when I didn't have the right to vote, when my parents didn't have the right to vote, when my grandparents didn't have the right to vote, and when my great-grandparents, and so forth and so forth. And there are many of us here who may not have been alive, but you know what it was like before we all got the right to vote or the right to exercise our right to vote. The rights of all women are in danger. It takes all of us committing our resources, time, effort, money, to make sure we are all secure in our rights. The concept of unity among women is a powerful force that transcends cultural, social, and economic barriers. It embodies the collective strength that arises when women support each other in the pursuit of common goals and shared visions. This solidarity, this unity is crucial. It is imperative that we challenge the status quo. By fostering an environment where women uplift one another, mentor one another, care for one another, and yes, even love one another, we create a formidable alliance that can drive significant change and break down the systemic barriers that have historically hindered women's progress. The unity of women is not just about the collective struggle. It is also about celebrating each other's success. Lend a helping hand. Reach back and help those who have come before you and those who are to come. I had many women, many in my family, many in this audience that I see that I've worked with, former students who I have seen reach back and help the next generation, help the current generation, and help those, as the young lady said, we're at the end of our career. I'm already retired. But just because I'm retired doesn't mean I don't need help. As we continue to build these bonds of sisterhood, we pave the way for a more equitable and just society where every woman has the opportunity to thrive. Thank you.
And in our sisterhood, I would also add that our male allies, we need you to speak up and stand up every chance you get when you're among your people and you hear them saying things that you know are not correct. We're expecting you to be our advocates, our allies. Next up is Elizabeth Nelson. She's an elementary teacher with 13 years of experience, and she spends her free time as a political organizer for the North Carolina American Federation of Teachers for the associate members. Elizabeth also works as an assistant director of communications of DEI for UNC's medical school in Chapel Hill. Like most teachers, she has multiple jobs. So welcome, I keep wanting to call you your nickname, but I'm not going to, Elizabeth.
Those are just a few of my jobs. I have many more. I mow yards, I take care of dogs, I own a flower shop, I babysit, I nanny, I tutor, because I'm a teacher in North Carolina. That's why I do all of these things. So my colleague and great friend Allison started earlier, and she did a fantastic job of kind of telling y'all what life is like as a teacher here in New Hanover County and some of the struggles that we face right now. But I want to highlight some of the things that we're up against on the state level. And when I highlight these are summaries of some of the bills that have come to the House within the past year. And I want you to think about the implications for the students, for our future, and for North Carolina when I kind of go over. These are just a few. There are 3 additional standardized tests they're looking to add for K through 5th graders to assess math proficiency. A lot more paperwork through mathematics success plans. Teachers may not teach that America was created for one group of people, race or gender. Teachers may not teach that oppression or history of minority groups of people. Per pupil funding for charter schools must be equal to that of public schools. Teachers should be required to participate in 2 hours of a child sex trafficking and training program by any non-profit program that the district decides. That could be churches, that could be Moms for Liberty. Higher ed schools may not compel students to give their opinions about social policy at all, in writing or verbally. Charter schools will be run by a new charter review board instead of the State Board of Education, but will continue to receive the same funding as public schools. It will be a felony for teachers to disseminate obscene materials, but no description of what obscene is. We all know about the overreaching Parents' Bill of Rights that allows parents to report and criminalize any teacher that they disagree with, and it's led by a group that's currently banning books in our district. I could go on. This is just a few. These are just some of the bills that have been introduced to the House in the past year, and policies that further demonize teachers and weaponize incompetence and hatred in the education system. The people making these policies, most have never stepped a foot in public schools. As educators, we're now facing felony charges for just showing love and supporting our students, for recognizing their backgrounds, for teaching our country's true history, for planning our lessons to reflect the faces in our classroom, and for showing compassion and empathy. Terrifying. There is only one way to protect yourself from this kind of legislation, and that is to join a union. To be a part of a collective voice that is standing up for teachers every single day. There are many amazing associations in North Carolina that are working to protect teachers, but I am a proud founding member of a union, the American Federation of Teachers. Thank you. Anyone can join our cause, not just teachers, and it is for less than the cost of a latte a month. Right now, I am asking all educators and professionals in our public school system to protect yourself by joining our union. Stand up against the system that's trying to break us. Unify our voices. I'm also asking allies who know a teacher, love a teacher, or care about the future of our state, join our union. Stand up against the system that's trying to break us. Unify our voices. We need power in numbers, and we desperately need support for the backbone of our future. This shouldn't be partisan. This is personal.
That's some scary stuff, isn't it? So if you do join AFT as an associate member, you become part of the union. And we will be looking for you when we start hitting doors and doing text banks and phone banks. And if you've ever done that with me, you know each one follows up with something fun at the end of the day. Next up is a very special person, a gem in our community. She doesn't sleep. She makes me feel like I am a lazy person. She is advocating for people's rights 24/7. It's incredible. She's been through some tragedy, and she didn't let it stop her, not one step. And she most recently, and I guarantee you that right now she's listening, and it hasn't even dawned on her that I'm talking about her. I once said I was looking for my escape route, my exit plan. If we had another orange occupation, which country am I going to? And she said, it must be nice to have so much privilege that you can consider that, because some of us don't have that choice, and we will have to stay and fight. And it sure would be nice if you would do that with us. She most recently was recognized at the national level, and it was so deserved. She received an award for a lifetime achievement and work in North Carolina by President Biden. And she has been a Woman of the Year for women organizing for Wilmington during the riots across the nation for Black Lives Matter. And she was Black Lives Matter before anybody had even heard of the movement Black Lives Matter. She went into the streets and she stopped our youth from mimicking or being tricked into by right-wing extremists into burning down our historic buildings, to show them, to demonstrate to them in a maternal way how they could protest and still live. Because let's face it, our Black mothers worry every time their children leave their homes that they might not see them again. So let's welcome Sonia Patrick to the podium. Sonia is here today to represent the National Black Leadership Caucus.
Hello to all my sisters and brothers from another mother. How y'all doing out there? I'm Sonia Bennington Patrick. I currently serve as the Southeastern Region Chair of the National Black Leadership Caucus. And yes, I am very proud of my African descent. I don't understand how we live in a country where people disrespect a woman. There will be no human race without a woman. There will be there'll be no inventions without a woman. So how can you disrespect a woman? In our African culture, and let me tip on this, slavery just disrupted, but our African culture teaches us there must be balance. And when there's no balance, something rises up within us. This is why we are here today, because something is rising up within us. Enough is enough. We have a lot going on the ballot in November. We have women's rights on the ballot. We have public education on the ballot. We have Social Security on the ballot. We have health care on the ballot. And we have enough women in North Carolina to change it. And I got to give my hats off to my sister Lynn Shoemaker and to WOW. In 2016, I saw the largest movement I ever seen in Wilmington, North Carolina. I didn't know that many people lived here, right on this ground. They had to close the streets down. Y'all know what I'm talking about? And we rose up and we resisted. In 2020, some things changed. Thanks to this group. Wow, let's give them a hand. In 2024, some things are going to change as well. Because when they attacked our women's rights, we will resist. Can y'all say it with me? When they attack our women's rights, we will. When they attack our human rights, we will. When they neglect our babies in the educational school system, we will. When they attack our educators, we will. When they attack our health care, we will. When they attack our Social Security, we will. We will. Resist. Resist. Thank you for listening.
Next up, we have Belanya, and I am not going to say her last name because I will massacre it. She comes to Wilmington from Washington, D.C. after a late career as a performer. A post-transition career started with a performance in The Tea Party, a play about trans themes selected for preservation by the Library of Congress. Lead roles in Charm, the Tarot reading, and For the Black Trans Girls soon followed. And since coming to Wilmington, she has been in 3 different Big Dog productions. Belanya has been a guest lecturer at Georgetown University and addressed the, I believe it says the FCC on gender presentation in media, yes. And her novel, Match, was published in 2019. And I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time reading just because my printer was running out of ink and I didn't realize it. So, but I know her from the community and conversations and passion conversations. And she has been with us and an outspoken advocate with WOW since I believe our first rally that we had here. So we are very pleased to welcome her back to our podium.
That's D-U-Q-U-E-S-N-E, pronounced Duquesne. Yeah, Belanya Marie Duquesne. Wasn't always my name. If there's any advantages about being trans, you get to pick your own name. I was asked here to speak about trans issues, but the honest to gosh, I can't speak for all trans people. Trans, queer, binary, gender fluid. What I do know how to speak about is healthcare. See, I've been on this planet 71 years. This is the part where you say, damn, she looks good for 71. I've had a lot of careers, I've done a lot of things. They talk about my career as an author, as an actor, but I spent 23 years of my life in healthcare administration. I was fortunate enough in 1983 to be part of the commission. If y'all remember that far, some of you weren't even around, but Hillary Clinton tried to reform healthcare. I learned a lot about politics. I know that it takes a lot of work, and there's a lot of people who don't want to stand in your way. We didn't get healthcare until 20 years later. But we did get one thing. I'm very proud of that thing. We did a law called HIPAA. Now, some of you think of HIPAA, that's just that funny form you got to fill out at the doctor's office. But HIPAA stands for Health Insurance Portability Privacy. I'm going to say that again. There's a whole lot in HIPAA about privacy. Privacy Accountability Act. It's a basic tenet. And one of the things we wanted to make sure was that information about your health care was yours. Your doctor. Not the employer who wanted to decide whether he was going to hire you because of your health or fire you because of your health issues and they were costing money on their health plan. It was just you. Basic privacy. Not your employer, not anybody else, and especially not politicians. And I think about the politicians we have now. You know, Mike Johnson. Anybody know who Mike Johnson is? Yeah, Speaker of the House. Third from President of the United States, right? There's Joe Biden, there's Kamala Harris, and then Mike Johnson. Now let me tell you something about Mike Johnson. They asked him what his platform was, what were his issues, and he said, I have a Bible up there. He says, all of my platform and all of my issues can be found in the Bible. Now, I have a lot of respect for the Bible. I came here 7 years ago. My mother was 96 at the time. She was still alive. God bless her, she's gone now. We used to have a lot of talk about the Bible. I said, Mom, I have a lot of respect for the Bible. It is a wonderful, if not beautiful, documentation of man's relationship with God. But it is not a handbook for how to live your life. There's all kinds of strange things in the Bible. Some people say that women are subservient to men because in the Bible it says man came first and woman came from the rib of a man. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen people produce from the body of somebody else, but nobody was a man. But these same politicians want to apply these rules to our law. I mean, this kind of thinking says that a group of cells in a petri dish have more rights than the woman where the cells came from. Oh yeah, Alabama Supreme Court said that. So, whenever these politicians get together and try to regulate health care, I get a little nervous. I came here and 7 years ago, I wasn't sure what bathroom I could go to. But we managed to elect a Democratic governor, and we repealed that law. But since then, we lost a veto-proof majority. So now, trans children can't get the drugs they need. Mind you, 51% of anybody who identifies as trans has had one or more suicide attempts before the age of 21. I can attest to that myself. They can't get their drugs. Right now in the Senate, there's a law that says that no health, and it's not passed yet, and thank goodness. It says that health insurance can't pay for trans and gender-affirming drugs, no matter how old you are. I'm 71 years old. I got to tell you something. I beat cancer twice. And I say twice because it's that funny kind of cancer. It's a gift that keeps on giving. And I get a lot of choices as to how to treat that, but one of them is a thing called testosterone blockers. It's the kind of cancer that feeds on testosterone. It's not cheap, but I'm 71, I got Medicare. This law would keep those drugs from me, whether it's for cancer or anything else. We've got to reaffirm that principle from HIPAA. Right? Remember, it says privacy, me, my doctor, my family, whoever it is, but not the politicians. We have to tell them that how I treat my child and its suicidal tendency is none of your damn business. We have to tell them that how I treat myself and what drugs I use are none of your damn business. You have to tell them that how I treat my pregnancy or your pregnancy, none of your damn business. You know, I mentioned being old. Healthcare, I did that for 23 years. But things changed, times changed. I didn't go from healthcare to actor. I actually walked home one day and my wife came to me and said, the kids are starting to ask, who's that guy we drive to the airport all the time? And so I realized I had to be home a lot more. I had a small company that did healthcare administration, and then I had a 30-year-old teaching certificate. You know, that last name is from my alma mater, Duquesne University. Everybody asked what you majored in, and I said, well, I majored mostly in football eligibility. But I did manage to get out there with a theater arts degree from the School of Education. So I became a teacher. Now, when you get teacher at 55, it's not like all these new young teachers come in here, they don't believe in homework. I'm a big believer in homework. You got to get ready for the next class so you know what the teacher's talking about. So I'm going to give you some homework. Every one of you I know, we all got that friend. Oh, I don't watch the news. I don't pay attention to politics. So what you do, you grab that friend, maybe 2, 3. You got a car, you got one of those big vans, 8 people in it, load it up. Find some friends, and then sit down and let them know what's going on. Let them know there is an organized cultural movement out there designed to take your rights away because of what they believe, what they think is right. And you tell them, let them know, and then on election day, you load up that car again, and you drag them in there, and when they vote that your son, that my life, my body, my health care is none of your damn business.
I'm gonna have to change this back down because Alana's a lot taller than I am.
All right. Our next speaker is Barb Backwoods. She's an RN. She's a local community activist and a registered nurse. She's a member of the Black Voters Matter and WOW. She's an advocate for UkraineEfforts.org to bring awareness to the ongoing war in Ukraine. Thanks, Barb.
Fellow nurse, thank you. I'm old too, following up with Ms. Duquesne, but as a nurse, and can all of you hear me? Okay. As a nurse, I, along with many of my nurse and physician colleagues, marched for Roe in the 70s, and we also protested many issues, the war in Vietnam and the draft that finally went away, to demanding a Clean Air Act because we didn't even have an EPA at the time until 1974. And there was also a challenge to getting access to contraception, credit cards, and loans if you were a female. You were expected to have a male, whether you were single or married, co-sign all those things, whether it be a loan, rental, you name it. So we take a lot of things for granted today, and that wasn't very long ago when those rights were not even available to us. But now we here are experiencing an erosion of our rights that have been unfolding for the last several years, thanks to the extremists that are in power, passing draconian laws in multiple states, and here we are, we're protesting the same old crap in this year as we did in 2020, version 2.0. So I'm of Ukrainian heritage. I have relatives in Ukraine. I have people over there who I know who are fighting. And today I was really honored and moved to be asked by my sisters in WOW to speak about the war in Ukraine and to remind you that, yeah, it still continues. It's a war where tens of thousands of women, kids, men were tortured, raped, executed before a lot of them ended up in mass graves. It's where 20,000 plus kids have been deported, kidnapped into Russian territory to be indoctrinated through filtration camps, to be illegally adopted, where the bombing continues 2+ years after Russia's brutal invasion. Yet the people continue to resist these invaders who thought that they could overtake the country in 3 days. This is 2+ years later, they're still resisting. Dozens of towns, villages, and cities have been destroyed. There are 6+ million people who are internally displaced, 5+ million who have gone beyond the borders into other countries, including here. We have some here in our community. The majority of these are women and children, and those totals equal 1/3 of the population pre-war. So that's the largest mass exodus since World War II. But many women chose to stay, and they're among the resistors. The armed forces are made up of mostly ordinary people who signed up to defend their lives, their freedom, their liberty, and their land. 65,000 women are now serving in the armed forces, and that number actually increased by about 30% from the start of the full-scale invasion 2 years ago. So roughly right now, 45,000 are serving as military personnel, and the rest hold civilian positions. Over 4,000 are in combat positions, and these women are filling a growing number of positions overall. There are combat medics in assault units, senior gunners, some are snipers. They're commanders of tank units and artillery batteries. One's a co-pilot on a medevac team. Dozens, if not hundreds, have been wounded in battle because once they're taken into captivity, there's no way of knowing the exact numbers. Others have been killed or captured, and if you're you're a woman in Russian captivity, it doesn't really go very well for you. These are ordinary women like you and me from various professions and backgrounds, and their ages vary. Some are single, some are married, some are moms, and some are grandmothers. Their ages really do vary. So that leads one to wonder, why are they choosing these roles, and why are they choosing to fight? So to go into a segue, there are many parallels in Ukraine's history from the past under occupation by Russia, and it's why Ukrainians are resisting today in order to explain that. The short version is because under Russia, all rights will disappear under a brutal dictatorship, such as a ban on the Ukrainian language, revising history, destroying books and burning them, which was done in occupied areas. There will be no freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, the freedom to vote. It's essentially removing all cultural identity and revising it while indoctrinating fealty to a dictatorial regime. And those not complying will be severely punished or worse, as done in the past, and it's occurring again in occupied areas. The right to exist as they know it will be extinguished. And by the way, does this not sound familiar to my African American friends and my Native American friends? As far as wiping out your cultural identity, and how long does it take to get that back, if ever? So 2 years and then some into this, the majority of the populace, including those in the hardest hit areas, do not want to be occupied by Russia ever again. And surveys and interviews continue to verify this, despite the hardships, because Ukrainians will tell you that living freely is paramount, and they're willing to make the sacrifice. So what's happening there leads to its impact here in the United States. And what has become increasingly apparent in recent weeks, there's another, as what has been talked about here before by previous speakers, an even more fundamental matter at stake. Something that would have been unthinkable throughout most of American history, but now it's rearing its ugly head in the halls of Congress, in news headlines, and social media every day. The question, shockingly and frighteningly, is whether the U.S. will continue as a democratic nation of laws, democracy in general, and the leader of what's long been known as the supposed free world. So we may not be perfect. There's work to be done, as we've discussed here, but we're not living in an autocracy yet. And 2024 is a crucial year. So while there are many enormously important subjects connected to this question and indicative of the broader debate that grips the country right now, this one does really top the list of many things. America's response to a Russian dictator, Vladimir Putin, of a brutal and illegal invasion of Ukraine. Remember, Ukraine attacked no one, Russia did. And there are approximately 70,000 plus war crimes against humanity being counted and tracked. So for a shaky but bipartisan majority of Americans, the fight to save Ukraine and its democratically elected government from Putin's clutches, while also bolstering our national security as well as global security, because there's a domino effect, whether we see it or not, it's absolutely imperative. And helping an ally to resist an unprovoked attack and the tyranny that the Putin dictatorship represents speaks to the essence of who we are as a people. Holders of this view rightfully see Putin for what he is and the threat he and his regime represent. And they recognize that turning our back on Ukraine in a moment of such profound peril and evil would constitute the ultimate treachery and betrayal. And not only that, the domino effect of not doing so has consequences that will land at our doorstep. The propaganda from Russia has really increasingly infiltrated our cyberspace, And in fact, MoveOn.org, which you may know is a progressive, forward-thinking organization, recently sent out an email sounding an informative alarm about the importance of supporting Ukraine's efforts. Disturbingly, a not insignificant minority, led by the orange guy, sees things differently. In a series of actions, this group has not only opted to block aiding Ukraine, but to attack and undermine the Ukrainian regime, our foreign policy, our national security, by making overtures to Putin, of all people. They're basically called useful idiots by the Russian state. They're foolishly ignoring Russia's interference in our elections, and they're spewing its dangerous propaganda in dark chat rooms. And this has a domino effect for a very gullible audience who unfortunately swallows the bait, and it's very dangerous to us here in our democracy. The parallels of fascism and occupation that Ukrainians are basically resisting to this day, if you know history, they're unraveling right here. As other people have said, right here, we have fascism in our wake. So people need to wake up and vote like our lives depend on it in order to save our democracy, our basic human rights, and resist the fascism being put onto us, and at the same time, support Ukraine, because if Putin wins, the message to the free world is that all democracies are threatened. He and others like him, they won't stop there. They've occupied parts of Transnistria, which is in Georgia. They've taken over Chechnya. They did what they did in Syria, but then they got out because they started to not be doing too well there. So we need to keep an eye on what's happening and how it affects us here. And as far as money, trust me, there is enough money in the general budget to meet our needs here in the US and support Ukraine. We just need to elect the right people who have the guts to do what's right. So in closing, Ukrainians won't go back, and I think I explained why. Neither should we. Here we are in 2024. We should not go back, and we should fight like Ukrainians. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barb. Our next speaker also comes to us from Planned Parenthood Vote South Atlantic. Sylvia Kokler. Is it Kokler? Kohler? Okay, gosh, I knew I was going to murder it. Sorry. She's an ardent supporter of reproductive rights. Sylvia serves on the board of Planned Parenthood Vote South Atlantic and is co-chair of its development committee. She is an attorney, volunteering for various legal aid organizations representing survivors in domestic violence and sexual assault cases. She's received the Legal Services Corporation National Pro Bono Award in 2012. Welcome, Sylvia.
I accept any pronunciation of my last name. After all, I married it. So that is not a problem. Good afternoon, all you beautiful people. Thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging in through all these wonderful speakers. And thank you, WOW, for bringing us all together. As she said, my name is Sylvia, and I serve on the board of Planned Parenthood Vote South Atlantic, and that is the advocacy and political arm of Planned Parenthood South Atlantic, which serves North Carolina, South Carolina, West Virginia, and Virginia. Now, I'll just warn you, this is not going to be the most exciting presentation that you hear today, but I have some news you can use about the 2024 election. So if you'll just lend me your ears for a few minutes, I think you'll want to hear about this. You've heard from all of our speakers today what is at stake in the upcoming election. Your freedom to make your own health care decisions without a politician getting between you and your health care provider is under attack. That is what is at stake. In North Carolina last spring, the gerrymandered legislative majority passed SB 20, an onerous restriction on access to abortion that amounts to a ban. And other healthcare freedoms are also at risk: transgender care, IVF, and even contraception. So how did this happen? For most of his term, Governor Cooper vetoed the crazy bills that were passed by the gerrymandered majority and used his veto power to prevent an abortion ban. Then, and this is important, one legislator betrayed her voters, switched parties, and gave the anti-abortion legislators enough votes to override the governor's veto. Now that's important to know.
Tricia is a traitor.
That's right. So file that away. One legislator made that difference. So it's important to have a governor who supports reproductive freedom, and it's important to have down ballot legislative seats who can support the governor and his veto. That will make all the difference. So that's what needs to happen. How are we going to do it? Planned Parenthood Vote South Atlantic is putting forward an ambitious plan for this election to get the vote out. First, we are proud to endorse Josh Stein as North Carolina's next governor. He is a candidate with a proven record for standing up for your reproductive freedom. The alternative is nothing short of dangerous and completely wrong for North Carolina. The other candidate, Mark Robinson, may be backpedaling as he is trying to appeal to voters in this election, but we know who he is, and he has told us what he will do. Now I'm going to read this verbatim because I don't want to get it wrong, because it's just too crazy to make up. This is coming from candidate Robinson. If I had all the power right now, say I was the governor and had a willing legislature, we could pass a bill right now that says you cannot get an abortion in North Carolina for any reason. That is what is at stake in this election. Frightening, dangerous words. Mark Robinson has told us what he'll do, and we also know what the current leaders in the gerrymandered legislature will do. They've already done some of it. There's no doubt in my mind that they would vote lockstep to turn Mark Robinson's dangerous words into law. So that's the first thing. We've endorsed a reproductive freedom candidate. Second, we are rolling out an aggressive get out the vote plan. And this is important, y'all. We are committed to knocking on 1 million doors across the state of North Carolina. We know that door-to-door canvassing is the most effective voter contact. We're going to knock on a record number of doors. We're going to talk to a record number of voters about what is at stake. And it's going to be strategic and targeted. We're going to try to knock on doors of people who are receptive to our message, but may need some extra encouragement to go and vote. So it's going to be more like preaching to the saved than trying to make a conversion of the lost. We're also going to follow that up with multiple layered communications. We know that once you make contact with a voter, you need to go back over and over and over with that message as you get closer to the time for voting. We're going to use mail, phone call, and digital advertising to make multiple contacts to cut through the noise and drive our message home. Third, and this is so important for y'all to know, Wilmington and New Hanover County are absolutely critical to this effort. Remember what I told you, one legislator made the difference in preventing Governor Cooper his veto. New Hanover County is winnable, y'all. It is winnable. And 1 or 2 changes in the legislature will make a difference. So we are opening a field office in New Hanover County later this spring. And we have the services of a community organizer. Her name is Emma, and she is already working to organize our community. She could not be here today. She was sorry about that, but soon I hope you all will meet Emma and start to work with her. She's going to recruit, train, and deploy an army of volunteers in our area to get the vote out. Now, what can y'all do to help? Are you all ready to start work? We need your help to take back our state, protect abortion access for Planned Parenthood patients, and the tens of thousands of people across our region who need care. You can do this. You can elect a pro-reproductive freedom governor. You can break the anti-abortion gerrymandered supermajority currently controlling the General Assembly. You have done it before. You can do it again. New Hanover County is winnable. But half measures are not going to be enough. We gotta be all in. Planned Parenthood Votes is all in. We need you all to be all in with us. Nobody is coming to save us. The courts are not coming to save us. We're still a democracy in 2024, and voting matters. So the most important thing you can do is vote and encourage other people to vote. And as Ms. Duquesne said, load up the car and carry people to the polls and help other people vote. We also need you to volunteer. Volunteer to canvass, volunteer to make calls. And that may sound daunting, but you are going to be trained and confident and effective. So please, volunteer, take the training, and help us with the work. And finally, please donate. These multiple layers of messages are expensive, and we need donations to get it done. So I want to direct you to the Planned Parenthood table, which is right over here. We've got QR codes that will help you get on a list to hear about volunteer opportunities. Emma would be in touch and let you know when training is coming up and what's available. And you'll also see the opportunity to make donations. So please visit our table over here. We also have some nice swag, so please do that. So come November, let's not have any regrets that we could have done a little more. I've still got PTSD from 2016. Let's not do that again. Let's be all in, let's work hard, let's unite, let's make history, let's protect reproductive freedom and other healthcare freedoms in North Carolina. Thank you.
V-O-T-E, vote, vote, vote. V-O-T-E, vote, vote, vote. V-O-T-E, vote, vote, vote.
We will remember in November. We have long memories. Remember in November. That's right. All right, next up we have Cynthia Munoz. She was born in California but moved to North Carolina when she was 15 years old. She loves to share her Mexican culture and is proud of her heritage. She has worked for her local hospital providing health care for community members for over 5 years. Her passion for women's health care led her to rally for women's reproductive rights, and fought to stop the North Carolina SB 20 12-week abortion ban. Cynthia Munoz stands up and speaks out to injustices whenever and wherever she can. And she's also one of our board members for the ERA-NC Alliance, so welcome, Cynthia.
Hello everyone. Hola, ¿cómo están? Bienvenidos. My name is Cynthia Munoz. I bet you thought you saw the last of me, but you didn't. It has been nearly 2 years since the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Abortion bans have swept the country state by state, making access to reproductive care scarce. And last June, our legislature here in North Carolina passed its own 12-week abortion ban, stripping bodily autonomy away from those of us with uteruses. That decision alone has taken lives, careers, families, and flipped them upside down. Reproductive health isn't a Democratic or Republican issue. It is a human rights, equality, and health care crisis. SB 20 put extreme restrictions on abortion and general reproductive access. This bill implemented added unnecessary visits for in-person counseling previously done via phone, adding extra drive time, missed work days, and putting people in an even bigger financial hardship. This is just one of the many restrictions this bill entailed. The bill also gave power to legislatures with zero medical backgrounds to dictate what healthcare providers could and could not do within their specialized practice. And now mifepristone, a drug that has been widely used for decades, is in jeopardy of being banned, which would effectively cause a nationwide total abortion ban. Now fast forward to today, and we can feel the strain on our already fragile healthcare system. We're losing doctors, residents, nurses, midwives due to the political agendas on both sides of the aisle. 91 out of 100 counties in North Carolina don't have abortion clinics, and 21 out of 100 counties are considered maternity care deserts, which means they have no hospitals providing obstetric care, and no birthing centers, no OBGYNs, no certified nurse midwives. I work as a surgical technologist and I specialize in gynecology. I have seen the cracks in our healthcare system, and I have held the hands of women as they undergo procedures, and I've cried with women that made the difficult choice to terminate, only to find out that they are one day past the 12-week mark and cannot receive abortion care in this state. Our bodies are not a political ploy to be waved in front of us, to be waved in front of voters' faces. Our freedom to choose is not for politicians to use as a platform. So as November gets closer and we see candidates litter our screens and sidewalks with their platforms and what they can do for you, I urge you to do your own research. Do not rely on what the mainstream media feeds you. Call, email, text, set up a meeting with these candidates. A lot of them are here today, and I guarantee that they would love to have a sit-down conversation with you and tell you what they stand for. Get to know them. And ask them the hard-hitting questions, get to know who they are and what they stand for, who they stand up for, and how they run their campaigns. And don't blindly vote for a singular party. Do the work. Will these candidates stand up for you? Will they stand up to oppression, or will they be the oppressors? And don't allow party leaders to tell you who to vote for. Vote with your gut, vote with your heart, and most importantly, vote with your research. Thank you.
So we were only 2 minutes over, and I think that's pretty awesome. So let's give everybody another round of applause. You've heard, you've got 8 months to save little d democracy so that we don't wake up in an orange occupation and a dictatorship. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thank you to our 7,000 WOW supporters on social media for being here today. Thank you. We'll see you here again soon.